here we are at the Rominger in Aquaponics Greenhouse. We built this. I'm going to walk you through our setup because we just got it running. This is our 150-gallon Rubbermaid fish tank. These are, you can find these at your local Tractor Supply, and if you get them at the right time, they're on sale for a very good price. What we have here is our surface skimmer. We have two outlets, a surface skimmer and a bottom skimmer. Both our outlets go into our 5-gallon drinking bucket. It is a, this is our swirl filter right here. If you look over here, you can see where both the inlets come at the bottom. They help with the swirl motion, and all the sediment will fall down to the bottom, and we drain it off down here at the drain tube. And once it fills to a certain level, it goes into the outlet for the grow beds. You turned off the garden hose, right?
Yep.
Alright, we're overflowing. Okay, here is our discharge from our swirl filter. You can see it comes down through here. And some of this is still in temporary stages because we just wanted to get it plumbed in to make sure we had the elevation right and everything of that nature in place. So our discharge from our swirl filter come down to our two media beds. Our media is expanded clay. This is just a 55-gallon drum. I'm sure you've seen in many videos, cut in half, laid on its side, and this will be our two media grow beds. Underneath we have our discharge coming into our pond, and these are just normal bell siphons. We've got them tuned just right. They seem to be working quite well. One's a little bit slower than the other. But anyway, the grow beds will discharge into our grow pond. We built the pond ourselves. The base is some heavy-duty recycled skids that we took, and then we just basically framed it up and put a 1/4-inch plywood around it for our walls, and went to Lowe's and got this 2 pond liners that we spliced together. They were on sale and it's working perfect. Anyway, here's our grow bed. And it comes right down here to our elevation tube. We currently have this set to about 10 inches deep. We're going to see how well that works. But once the water rises to the top of the elevation tube, it dumps out the bottom into our sump. Now the sump's overflowing right now because we put a little bit too much water in the system, but that's okay. Our sump is a 55-gallon barrel that...
Do you want to lift up that black?
Yeah. Yeah, we've got to trim all this off still. Like I said, we're still working on it. I don't know how well you can see that. But
wow, we have a lot of water in there.
Yeah, you're positive you turned the hose off, right?
I'm 100% positive.
Okay.
I can go double check though.
Yeah, we overestimated our water needs, but it's better than underestimating. But anyway, our sump is a 55-gallon barrel that I buried in the ground. The reason we buried it is to try to help even out the temperatures of the water in the greenhouse. In the wintertime, it'll help keep it a little bit warmer, and in the summertime, it'll help keep it a little bit cooler. In the bottom mat is our discharge pump. Right now, we have the discharge pump pushing into our external filter. And the reason we're doing that is we're just getting the system going. We want to make sure we pulled all the chlorine and everything of that nature out of there. And this is just helping us filter the whole system until we get the plants in place, and then they'll take over the filtering. So, like I said, we have a 150-gallon tank, discharges into the 5-gallon swirl filter. Swirl filter discharges to our 2 grow beds, which then discharges into our pond that drops down into our sump tank that is overflowing a lot, and then it's pushed back into our fish tank. Now once this is all finalized and we have everything figured out properly, we will hard plumb in the discharge into our fish tank so we won't have all this mess laying out here. But that's basically the circuit of our greenhouse setup. And we built all this winter. If you want to turn around here, we built an 8x8 shed this winter, me, my wife, and my kids. We built it, the shed cost us about 900 bucks in material. And it's...
Don't mind the janky door.
Yeah, we built in the winter time, so there's a lot of things we kind of hurried through, but it's 16 on center. It's very solid, and the materials are about 900 bucks, and it's much better than ones you can buy pre-made anywhere. We insulated the crap out of it to help with energy costs. We have a 240 volt hanging heater. You can only find one of these at Menards. Lowe's didn't have anything of this nature, but this thing works great. It has a USB port that I'm going to hook my Raspberry Pi to later. It'll be able to control the temperature settings with that. We have a 100 amp service out here, sitting right beside my empty beer. Sometimes it's necessary on the job. And the door, I have to do finished work on the door, but basically, other than cosmetic stuff, if you want to turn around, our greenhouse is actually 10 foot by 20 foot. We bent all the conduit ourselves. It's 1-inch EMT. It wasn't too bad. There's 100 things I changed. The angle, I should have matched it better to the greenhouse so it flowed better. But for what it is, this is our first build. It's working quite well. Like I said, there's 100 things I'd do differently, but for a learning process, I think we've learned a ton off this, and I think we're going to have a lot of growth out here until we decide we've outgrown it and buy some land and build something much bigger. But that's it. This is our first aquaponics greenhouse setup.
One thing,
my friend Rick, he's in the military with me. He's the one that initially got me started on this, and hopefully we'll update you with more videos later with bigger and better stuff. Thank you.
one thing I wanted to mention is that this area right here, this is going to be our workspace, and then everything down there, we're going to experiment with microgreens.
Right here's going to be microgreens.
But it's not as much of a controlled environment as microgreens might need. So we're just kind of going to test that out and see how it works. If not, we're going to build a microgreen hub in the garage, and we'll probably what are those things that you always talk about?
Use T5 glow lights or LED lights.
No, the buckets that you plant.
Oh, yes. If we don't fill this with microgreens, I would like to try a Dutch bucket system over here for some of our hardier plants, tomatoes and things like that. I'd like to see if I can get those to climb up some of the framing here. We're just trying to see what works, and we're going to go with what works best for us. But it's been a lot of fun so far. And here it is. This is Craig, Jamie, Sophie, and Braylon's winter project. We didn't get a whole lot of sledding in, but we did build a shed, a greenhouse, and an aquaponics system.